matter what, I always have the classics to fall back on when it comes to getting my old Squaresoft JRPG fix. From the early 90s to the early 2000s, Square was on top of the JRPG genre. But things are a bit different in today's video game climate. True turn-based JRPGs just don't perform as well as they used to, and as well as Square Enix would hope. Now, this has led to multiple things. We have Square Enix's new HD 2D titles, Octopath Traveler. We have the Project Triangle Strategy working title as it is now, and that will be coming out next year. We've got Tokyo RPG Factory, who's done I Am Setsuna, Oninaki, and they also did Lost Sphere. And don't get me wrong, we've got Atlas, who's, doing a great job with the Shin Megami Tensei series, Persona, Trails of Cold Steel with Falcom, and NIS America publishing them. There's still great turn-based JRPGs out there, don't get me wrong, and I still enjoy playing them. But there was just something special about earlier Final Fantasy titles, like Final Fantasy VI, Final Fantasy VII, especially Final Fantasy IX. I love Final Fantasy IX. And, games like Chrono Trigger, Secret of Mana, they had this grandiose feeling and this charm to them. And we really just don't get those high-budget JRPGs anymore from Square Enix. They're continuing the Final Fantasy series, of course, but it's turned itself into a more action-oriented series, and that's just how things are evolving. I understand that. It's also trying to, advertise more to fans here in the West, because that's where the demographic is, believe it or not. They just sell better here, so this is where the market is, and unfortunately, they would rather see action games, because that's just what sells here. But with all of that out of the way, Square is still giving us a little bit of what we used to expect from them. And this comes from Bravely Default 2. Now, Bravely Default 2 is obviously a 2, so it's the third game technically in the series. There was the original Bravely Default, which released on the 3DS, and unfortunately I didn't play it. And the only reason I didn't play it is simply because I didn't buy it. And when I did end up buying it, I bit the bullet and spent more than I should have on it, because for some reason it's just getting up there in price. But anyway, I did end up buying it, and there was End Layer, which was an actual sequel to the first Bravely Default, I believe. So Bravely Default 2 is independent from both of those, so you don't need to worry about Bravely Second End Layer, or you don't need to worry about the first Bravely Default, but I would recommend checking them out. Now, Bravely Default 2 got my attention immediately. As soon as that trailer came out, I was hooked. I knew I was going to get it day one. I tried the demo that they released, and I liked it. I was a little, I don't know why, but for some reason I just didn't like the art design they were going with. But anyway, I knew I was going to get the game. I don't know what it was, but it just didn't hook me immediately. I grew to like it, and I really like it, but I just don't know why. Immediately I was just kind of like, ugh. Alright, so let's get into my first impressions, if you will. Now, I'm about 30 hours into the game. I planned on giving this a really in-depth, full, analytical review. But to be honest, I'm just really enjoying the game. And I just want to stop the video making process. I don't want to take any more notes on this game. I don't want to record any more footage. So yeah, I want to get my current thoughts that I have on the game as of now into this video. Now, I have some stuff scripted, I have some stuff off the cuff, so this is kind of just a hodgepodge of me rambling on about some things I like and some things I don't. So without further ado, let's get right into it. So the first thing that I want to talk about is the story. And full disclosure, I'm going to go into spoilers here. So if you don't care about spoilers, keep watching. If you do plan on playing the game and you do care about spoilers, then please stop watching. That is your warning. So, the game starts like many RPGs started back in the day. You are the hero, you're Seth, the protagonist, and you wash ashore after some shipwreck. And, long story short, you gotta find the 4 crystals, blah blah blah. We've heard this before, the 4 crystals of the elements. And you tag along with Princess Gloria and Sir Sloan, which is the knight that is protecting her. And they're on their quest to get the 4 crystals, and for whatever reason, Seth has no idea where he is. He's shipwrecked. He has no idea what's going on. But for some reason, he's just like, yeah, I'll join you guys. And I was a little, I don't know how I felt about that. I mean, it was almost instantaneously after meeting with them for, not even like an hour. He's like, yeah, sure, I'll tag along with you guys. So our heroes Seth, Princess Gloria, and Sir Sloan set out to get the 4 elements. And along the way, we meet Elvis, we meet Adele, and so on and so forth. And that's really going to be your party throughout the game. And for the most part, I like the characters. Elvis really stands out the most because I love his dialogue, I like his writing, he's funny, I like his accent, I like his characteristics. He just really sticks out to me. I don't have much to say about really the other protagonists. Seth isn't like terrible, but not great either. He just doesn't really stand out to me. Gloria is alright. I mean, they all serve their purpose as protagonist characters, I suppose, but the only one that really stands out to me is Elvis. So, after meeting them, obviously the idea of the game is you want to track down the 4 crystals to the elements. Now, I haven't finished the game, so I don't know what happens at the end. Like I said, I'm 30 hours in, but the overall narrative is just there. It definitely lacks that grandiose feeling that earlier Final Fantasy titles had, so it's not terribly deep, but it's also not surface level either. It's just kind of right in the middle. It does enough to keep my attention. Prime example, these are some of the things that the narrative does that hooks me, and then I'm just kind of like, eh. So the first thing is Sir Sloan, which is the knight that is traveling with you in the beginning of the game. You go to visit his wife's grave, and a cutscene plays out, and the game is trying to make you feel something. It really, really is. And I was just like, okay. He's visiting her grave. I get it. He's this traveling knight, and his job is he was a previous hero of light, and he's protecting the princess. And so they take you to the grave, and it's kind of this touching moment, I guess. And then the first thing I think of is, oh, he's about to die, right? Of course. Why would they? They're trying to make us feel something here. They're building up for something. Obviously, he's about to die. And of course, he dies. And it's just like, man, I saw this coming a mile away. And there's this moment with him and Seth, and he's like, it's up to you now. And Seth's just, mind you, like I said, Seth barely knows these people, but he's like, yep, all right, it's my duty. Yep. And I'm just like, wait, what? We barely know each, like, okay. So that was one of the things that, it's not terrible. It doesn't take me out of the plot, but it just kind of like, there's some things I would have done differently. But here's something that kind of keeps me in and grabs my attention. In Savalon, during the final battle against Prince Castor, the prince freaking falls off the balcony, and I didn't expect that. I mean, that's, obviously we've already dealt with death because, Sir Sloan, obviously died or gave his life during that last attack. Who knows if he's really dead? But yeah, and so I really I thought it'd be a little more lighthearted. I didn't expect Princess Castor to fall off the balcony like that. And when he betrays you during that part in Savalon, I didn't expect that either. So the game definitely does a good job of keeping your attention when it needs to, and kind of keeping everything mainly at bay for the most part. Then we have Wiswald, which was pretty freaking deep. I mean, wow. I really don't want to... I mean, obviously, I've already spoiled a decent portion of the game, but I really don't want to talk much about Wiswald just because I really like where they went with Wiswald. It was pretty dark, and it was pretty deep, and especially to kind of see the reaction we got out of Elvis from that was pretty cool, because obviously he, kind of plays the class clown in a sense. He's the funny guy. And so to see him a little more serious during that part was pretty interesting. So overall, at the 30-hour mark, the story so far has been solid. It's doing its job. It's a serviceable plot. It's not doing anything unheard of. It's just there. And I'm okay with it. I'll be honest, I actually kind of went into this one hoping I could kind of get a meaty narrative and something I could really sink my teeth into when it comes to the storytelling department. But luckily, the combat, which is what we're going to get into next, is the best thing about this game, hands down. Now, If you're not familiar with Bravely Default, the Brave and Default system work like this. So, for a turn, you can default. So that will put you in a defensive stance. Obviously, you don't take as much damage while you default, but you stack what's called a Brave point. And these Brave points can be accumulated up to 3 in total, which will allow you to attack 4 times. You'll have your standard turn and then the 3 that you stacked up on. So you can default for 3 turns and then Brave, use all of those Brave points, and then you have 4 turns. Now 4 turns in a JRPG is incredible. You can heal, you can cast buffs, you can cast magic, you can attack all in 1 turn. And to make matters more interesting, enemies also have this, and you can go into the negative with Brave points. You do not have to default and stack Brave points if you want to, and I don't know why you'd want to, but if you want to, if you're in a battle and it's causing you some trouble, you can immediately just spam the Brave button up to 3, and yeah, you've got your Brave points. But the caveat is you'll be in the negative, so you can't attack for 3 turns. And I love this. It is incredibly addicting, and it makes every battle you go into have to be somewhat thought out. You cannot just go mashing. Now, obviously, I say this if you're, against a boss, or you're in a, an area of the game to where your levels match the monsters that are in that area, and so on and so forth. Of course, you could go, you could be level like 43 and go back to Savlon or something like that and just destroy, all of the enemies in there. That, obviously, you can do. You can just spam your Brave points and do that. But for the most part, the battles have to be pretty thought out. You have to think what you're going to do. You can't just go in mashing the A button mindlessly and thinking you're going to win. This is not that game, and I love it. It really adds this layer of enjoyment and difficulty to the combat. It almost kind of reminds me of like a tactical JRPG in a sense, because of just how well executed every turn has to be. And I love it. I love it. It's great. And to make matters even better, we have a really simple and elegant job system, to where obviously these job systems allow for abilities, and these abilities, there's 2 types of abilities. There are abilities that are linked to that job, and then you have abilities that you learn from that job that can be permanently equipped. You can also set a sub job. So let's say you are Elvis and you're the Black Mage and you max it out to level 12. You can then set the Black Mage to his sub job so he still has access to all those spells, and then equip the Bard as the main job, and you'll start acquiring BP to max out the Bard while you still have the sub job as a Black Mage. And then of course it's your typical JRPG in the sense of acquiring, battle points, job points, experience points. I said battle points. Well, experience points, things like that. Equipment, so on and so forth. One thing that I'm starting to see a lot more in JRPGs, and it's in Bravely Default, which is great, is the option to speed up the battles. That is extremely welcomed. Love it, love it, love it. There's also boss monsters that are in the overworld. So if you feel like and they're pretty tough. I've taken on a couple, and man, they can really give you a run for your money. But if you really want a good challenge, I'd recommend, definitely trying those out. The biggest 2 points I want to talk about was the combat. Like I said, really enjoying that. And then a little bit of the narrative. Like I said, this is a little scripted, off the cuff, just kind of coming at you a bunch of different angles. So I'll go a little bit into the music. It's all right, I guess. It's kind of, there doing its job, I suppose. Nothing really stands out to me. The only thing I don't like is the overworld music is pretty much the same, but only changes depending on the area you're in. But it's still the same soundtrack that plays. It's just kind of tweaked to fit that environment. So that's a little bit annoying. The battle theme's all right. Some of the town themes are okay too. But yeah, nothing to write home about, I would say, but it is pretty good. The overall aesthetic I really like. I love the kind of craft, storybook-like art style they went with the towns. That's really cool. I definitely like that. You also have certain special abilities that you get from the crystals, and they're okay. They're not like game changers, but they can, they definitely have their moments. I would say the best thing about them is the buffs that you're able to get after the actual attack, if there is attack with that ability. But yeah, for the most part, I'm really enjoying my time with Bravely Default 2. And yeah, sorry for the kind of scrambled mess of a video. I really just wanted to kind of get, some of my thoughts together for you guys and just let you know how I'm feeling about this one. I would highly recommend picking this one up. Don't let it slip you by. Now, would I recommend it at full price? I don't know. If you can get it for, I'd say like 10, 20 bucks off, definitely grab it. If you're already a fan of the series, then of course you most likely already own it. If you're waiting for some reason, you can wait a little bit longer. I wouldn't say it's immediate, but I would recommend checking it out whenever you get the chance. And with that out of the way, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.